Hi, I'm Jeanette Roche. This is Bridge City News. Here are some of the top stories we have lined up for you. 2 National Guard soldiers gunned down near the White House in Washington. We have the latest. Plus, we haven't experienced much winter weather yet across the country, but forecasters say that's about to change. And once again, the Salvation Army is asking for your help to make the Christmas season a little brighter for those in need.
Your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News with Jeanette Roche.
Thanks so much for joining us. 2 West Virginia members of the U.S. National Guard were shot Wednesday in Washington, D.C., not far from the White House. FBI Director Kash Patel told reporters the 2 guards were listed in critical condition in hospital. Associated Press reporter Gary Fields is in Washington and shares these details.
We're at Connecticut and I Street, one of the most secure residences on the planet. And this area where I am is also one of the most heavily patrolled by an alphabet soup of federal and local law enforcement officers, ranging from the Metropolitan Police to the Secret Service. The things that, talking to one of the witnesses who said she just heard 2 boom booms, she was stunned because she recognized this wasn't one of those areas either. And what caught her off guard most was then she saw small children running and people running. And she was thinking about, it's Thanksgiving, it's the holiday season, and it's a beautiful day.
The suspect in the shooting was also shot and had wounds that were not believed to be life-threatening. That suspect is in custody. U.S. President Donald Trump, who was in Florida celebrating Thanksgiving, warned in a statement on social media that the, quote, animal who shot the guardsman will pay a very steep price. On this side of the border, Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced new measures to support the lumber and steel sectors being hammered by U.S. tariffs. Among the new measures are greater limits on steel imports from countries without a free trade agreement with Canada from 50 to 20% of 2024 levels, a measure largely aimed at reducing Chinese steel imports.
This will open up more than $850 million in new domestic demand for Canadian steel. Second, we will reduce tariff-free steel imports from non-CUSMA free trade area partners from 100% of 2024 levels to 75% of those levels, unlocking more than $540 million in additional market access for our producers. I'm announcing today that we will make it more affordable to transport Canadian steel and lumber across this country by cutting freight rates for transporting steel and lumber interprovincially by 50%. We'll do that through funding directly Canadian National and Canadian Pacific Kansas City Railways.
Government officials say the estimated fiscal cost of that measure is $146 million. Carney also announced a $500 million increase to the previously announced softwood lumber development program, which gives companies access to government-backed loans totaling $1.2 billion. Carney will announce details of the Memorandum of Understanding with Alberta on Thursday. Well, the Prime Minister met with Newfoundland and Labrador's new Premier Wednesday in Ottawa. After a decade under the Liberals, Tony Wakeham's Conservative Party was swept to power in a provincial election about a month ago. Wakeham was glad to have some time to pitch to the Prime Minister on what Newfoundland and Labrador has to offer.
It's great to be here. I think this Prime Minister has an interest in nation building, as you described it, and Newfoundland and Labrador wants to be part of that. We're part of Canada. We're very proud to be part of Canada, and we're very proud to do our part. And as the Prime Minister has alluded to, we believe Newfoundland and Labrador has a lot to offer the country and the world. And so that's why we're here to partner, to talk to the Prime Minister. I'm so delighted that he found time in his schedule to meet with me this morning. And to do that, I will meet with a number of other ministers throughout the week. And I'm pleased to be here, and I thank you so much for the opportunity. Fantastic.
Wakeham has said he wants Carney to designate the proposed Bay du Nord offshore oil development as a major project of national interest. Well, many Canadians might be wondering, where's winter? While there have been some snowfalls, we have yet to see the huge storms that signify the beginning of the winter season. But the Weather Network says it's going to be a December to remember.
It's been an exceptionally mild fall across Canada, but we're seeing already a flip in the jet stream pattern that's going to give us a strong start to winter. We think that for most of Canada, we're looking at near normal or colder than normal temperatures for the season as a whole. The fact that we have a disrupted polar vortex and La Nina in tandem with each other does increase the potential to have extended periods of more extreme or persistent temperature anomalies. And it looks like the way the jet stream pattern will be setting up in December is that the cold will be fairly widespread across much of Canada, especially east of the Rockies to the Maritimes. We are very optimistic about the ski season for the Rockies, for southern Ontario, and southern Quebec, and a strong start to the season, again, with not having to wait until after the holidays for winter to show up. This is great news for a strong start to the season to get the resorts open and well covered and great ski conditions in time for the holidays and during the holidays. In fact, in southern Ontario, southern Quebec, the bigger concern may be getting to the ski areas if you were to get high impact lake effect snow squall events during the holidays or a major winter storm into the regions. Everybody wants to know, is it going to be a white Christmas? We don't know yet, just because that can be so dependent on the weather on the few days leading up to Christmas. But when we step back the high level of the country as a whole, I think more of Canada will see a white Christmas than we often do.
The forecast is calling for 20 to 40 centimeters of snow in the next few days in parts of northern and southern Ontario. Well, here's a terrifying story. A fire in a high-rise complex in Hong Kong has left at least 36 people dead and 279 others reported missing. Columns of flames and thick smoke spread on bamboo scaffolding and construction netting that had been set up around the exterior of the housing complex in Tai Po district. Authorities say the complex has a large elderly population. More than 700 residents living in the complex were evacuated to emergency shelters. Firefighters were unable to reach some of the residents on higher floors. Officials say 29 people remain hospitalized, with 7 in critical condition. In other news, the Better Business Bureau is calling on Canadians to be prepared to shop this Black Friday by planning ahead and reading the fine print in advertised deals. The BBB recommends creating a list of items and a budget by reviewing flyers and promotional items, but they also advise reading the fine print behind large percentage drops and checking competitor prices.
What we want people to know is, don't get in debt. Don't have a budget, when you're going to go buy something, especially a big ticket item. Make sure you know what the regular price is for that item, because there are unscrupulous retailers out there that will, boost a price of an item, then say they're discounting it by 50%. So just be aware. We always recommend, use a credit card, because then if you have to dispute that transaction for whatever reason, you can do that. And you also get points on most, consumer bank credit cards. Some of the local retailers, like, the people that run these little businesses in your community, are offering serious discounts to bring customers in. They're actually competitive. So, right now, we have this kind of default that we always think about shopping online, but that will be where we'll find the best price, but not necessarily. So really go out and support your local, shops.
A report from the Canadian Retail Council claims Albertans spend the most in holiday shopping compared to the rest of the country, spending just under $1,200, over $200 more than the average national shopper. 84% of Canadians also claim Black Friday as their most important shopping day of the year. Albertans living with disabilities are voicing their concerns about changes to their income assistance program. 19 former leaders and advisors to Alberta's disability programs have sent an open letter to the government urging it to cancel the proposed Alberta Disability Assistance Program, or ADAP, and preserve the assured income for the severely handicapped, or AISH, program. ADAP is intended for those who are deemed capable of working. Under the new program, there's a lower monthly benefit but a higher earning threshold for clawbacks. Neil Pierce is a former chair for the Premier's Council of the Status of Persons with Disabilities. He says the change doesn't make sense.
For a government that prides itself on red tape reduction, I just don't see the sense behind these changes. Unless it's purely financial, to cut budget on the backs of vulnerable Albertans. They had a town hall meeting back in September. It was organized by the current Premier's Council on the Status of Persons with Disabilities. And that council is there to advise the Premier on issues. And they had over 300 people in attendance. And there was one person on the phone that was in favor of these changes and couldn't understand why the changes were being made when improvements could be made to the existing system.
Pierce says the 79,000 Albertans on AISH need to write letters to the Premier and their MLAs to let them know they're opposed to the changes. AISH recipients are scheduled to be moved to the program next July. About 22,000 health and medical workers in Alberta have a new 4-year contract. The Health Sciences Association of Alberta says about 2/3 of members who voted were in favor of a mediated recommended deal with Alberta Health Services. Members will get 12% wage increases over 4 years, while many types of workers will also receive one-time wage increases on top of that based on market comparisons. The contract applies to paramedics, physiotherapists, addictions counselors, and many other specialized medical staff. Well, each year, community members and visitors go to the west side of the city to see the Christmas lights at the Caldwell's House. Drawn up in its splendor and festive beauty, the holiday attraction with a heart is more than a Christmas display. It's a place to give. Our BCN Heidi Echeverria has the heartwarming story.
The house is decorated with 200,000 lights, which also serve as a collection point for donations, which are then delivered to those in need through the Salvation Army and Lethbridge Food Bank.
It's about 200 hours of setup.
It took about 3 weeks this year.
3 weeks of getting off of work and working till the late night and then, weekends.
They are collecting toys and food all season long until January the 7th. The Christmas campaign began last Sunday, and on that day, they collected 883 pounds of food and 175 toys.
The support is unreal. It has grown
Every
so
year
much.
we're increasing our goal for food collection by 500 pounds. We're started at 1,000 pounds was our goal, and now our goal is 4,000 pounds to collect for food,
and 800
toys.
Last year, we received 3,500 pounds of food and 700 toys.
An effort that wouldn't be possible without the support of the community. According to the family, they are one of the largest donors of toys for the Salvation Army.
So Vince and Shondell Caldwell have been some great supporters of the Salvation Army's Toys for Tots campaign over the years. Just shy of 400 children last year, so probably each of those children were helped directly by the contribution from the Caldwells. Our registration at this point of the year is up about 15% from where we were at this point of the year last year. And I can say firsthand the joy and the hope that we're able to bring through our Toys for Tots campaign.
How did this idea begin?
It started when our youngest daughter was 4. People always bring presents and stuff to thank us for lighting up the community. The one year she said, "Oh, Dad, I can't wait for you to put up the Christmas lights so people bring us presents." And as well, you're kind of getting the wrong idea about Christmas. So then we just thought, well, maybe if we make it a little bigger, people will bring in donations to help the community. And that's when we started.
Many people often ask, how much is their electricity bill?
It's about $400 a week. during the Christmas season. It's just our contribution.
Our donation.
Our donation. The dollar amount I think we're collecting is around $30,000 a year.
The campaign has been running for 8 years, and so far it has collected well over $100,000 in the value of toys and food. Heidi Echavarria, Bridge City News.
Thank you so much for that, Heidi. It's that time of year to hear bells, kettle bells that is, and if you are out shopping, you'll likely encounter one of the 8 Salvation Army red kettles located in different retail stores across Lethbridge. That's because today the Salvation Army officially kicked off the 2025 Christmas Kettle campaign in the city. Zach Marshall, Community Ministries Officer with the Salvation Army Lethbridge, explains what the fundraising goal is for the 2025 campaign and what the donations will support.
This year, we're looking to raise $220,000 to support the work that we do at Christmas, such as our Toys for Tots campaign, but also to support programs and services that we offer throughout the year. Programs like ESL classes, services like emergency food and clothing support, and just community programs for seniors who are vulnerable. Every cent counts to support our goal. We have Walmart South, Real Canadian Superstore, Save on Foods West, Walmart North, Park Place Mall, Northside Liquidation, the Salvation Army Thrift Store, and starting on December 10th, we also have Costco Wholesale. It is in its 127th year here in Lethbridge, and it is our largest public fundraising campaign of the year. I think annually, the people of Lethbridge have been very generous to the Salvation Army. So we're very thankful to our community for rallying around us and supporting us.
The campaign runs until December 23rd and takes place across Canada and the United States. The Salvation Army's fundraising goal in Canada is $22 million. For the past 65 years, the Lethbridge Symphony Orchestra has been a pillar of the local arts and music community. To celebrate its anniversary, the Symphony is raising money to produce a documentary film. It is partnering with Bailey and Soda Films to produce Prairie Visions, a documentary film detailing classical music and cultural identity in southern Alberta. The LSO says the money raised will cover the cost of a commissioned piece by Blackfoot composer Sunny Ray Dayrider.
He's an incredible composer. We've had our string quartet Museus play one of his works a few years ago, and it was very well received. He's incredibly talented. So we're grateful that we can include a piece by Sunny Dayrider on this film. The film itself is also a nod to the history of the symphony itself, like I said. And the urgency for us in the funding is that we realize that some of the people who have had the longest history with the symphony are moving away. Some of them have passed away. And so for us, this is an opportunity to catch that oral history in a film so that that can be preserved for future generations, really.
Hegedus says she's amazed by the support received to this point. The total budget for this film is $150,000, $85,000 of which has already been raised through donations and pending grants. Anyone donating $500 or more can choose to have their name acknowledged in the film credits. Prairie Visions is expected to premiere in 2027 with the symphony performing the score live during the screening. So cool. Strong demand and a buildup of inventory could help pave the way for a rebound in home sales next year after a roller coaster 2025 plagued by economic uncertainty. RE/MAX Canada says it expects national home sales to increase 3.4% next year as it sees light at the end of the tunnel following this past year's declines. Its 2026 housing market outlet report says 1 in 10 Canadians plan to buy a home in the next 12 months, with half of them buying for the first time, while 1/4 says they believe the market in their region will become more affordable. Alberta legislators are taking the next logical step in the field of artificial intelligence. They're using the technology to draft a law that's set to be tabled in the spring. Service Alberta Minister Dale Nelly says the the law will establish the production, labeling, and marketing standards for a liquor product called Alberta whiskey. Nelly says the legislation could make his provincial government the first one in Canada to utilize AI for this purpose. Spokespeople for every province and territory except Ontario, which didn't immediately respond, say their jurisdictions have never used AI to draft legislation. Some child development and psychology experts say parents should think twice about buying artificial intelligence-powered toys this holiday season. AI toys ranging from plush stuffed animals to robots feature built-in chatbots that enable them to converse with kids and are often marketed as trusted companions with educational value. But critics say AI growth has far outpaced research into its safety and effects on child development and is largely unregulated.
There definitely is, some cause for concern when we're thinking about toys that are incorporating AI, especially for young children, notably the impact potentially for kids' development and that these AI tools can be misleading. But there's also big privacy concerns that families need to be thinking about when you have devices in the home that are, recording and using information. I think what I would say to parents is I would approach these toys cautiously. We don't know a lot about how kids interact with these toys, their potential impact. We also know early childhood is a time where the developing brain is a little sponge. It's taking everything in and it is so malleable. And so, when I think about what kind of inputs do I want my kids to be having, and to be honest, it's not the inputs of an AI algorithm.
Wow, how times have changed. Not the same toys I grew up with, that's for sure. Now here's a look at today's markets.
The TSX was up 279 to 31,180. The Dow was up 314 to 47,427. The S&P 500 was up 46 to 6,812, and the Nasdaq was up 189 to 23,214. West Texas Intermediate Oil was down 58 cents to 58.53 US per barrel. Natural gas was up 13 cents to 4.61 US. Gold was up 31.76 to 41.6273 US an ounce, and silver was up 186 to 53.33 US an ounce. Feed wheat is at $7.54 per bushel. Barley is at $5.88. Canola is at $14.83, and corn is at $7.44 per bushel. Live cattle December contract was up $4.02 to $2.1102. Feeder cattle January contract was up $8.05 to $3.1512, and lean hogs December contract was up $1.97 to $80.42. The Canadian dollar was up slightly over the past 24 hours and currently sits at 71.20 US.
Recapping one of our top stories, 2 U.S. National Guard soldiers from West Virginia are in critical condition in hospital after being shot Wednesday in Washington, D.C. The shooting happened not far from the White House. Authorities say the gunman was also shot and suffered non-life-threatening wounds, and the suspect is in custody. The motive for the shooting is not known at this time. The Liberal government has attempted to hype their clean transition to different sources of green energy for a number of years. They promised that their energy policies and initiatives would create new jobs and boost Canadian economy. But according to Jock Finlayson, a senior fellow with the Fraser Institute, 2 new studies show that it's just not the case. Stay with us to find out more. Also, if you see news happening in your community, be sure to send us an email at info@bridgecitynews.ca. You can also visit our website or our YouTube channel anytime to check out more of our stories and interviews.